Hey, dude, Ray.
Dude, hi.
So I got an email from Japan.jp, penned by Mr. Higgins, Master Higgins?
Master? Master, you mean?
I don't know. Some white dude in Japan emailed me.
Master Higgins, dude. Takahashi Meijin. Back in the 80s, he was a hero to all the gamers of Japan. A nobleman whose nobility was only matched by his ability to hit a button 16 times a second, earning him the nickname 16 Shot, and he became the basis for the Master Higgins character from Adventure Island. Legend has it he could split boulders with a single thumbnail.
That's cool.
Anthony, did you hear? The Master's coming to America!
I have to improve my technique.
No shit, you do! Really familiar with you, outside of the game character, of course. So I thought I would just ask if you could give me like a brief history of where you came from and how you joined Hudson.
まずじゃあ私がハドソンに入ったきっかけなんですけれど、私は、スーパーマーケットの青果部で働いてたんですね。でそれが81年とかの頃なんですけど、コンピューターにすごく興味を持ち始めてベーシック言語っていうやつで、プログラミングを始めたんです。でその頃私が住んでたのは札幌というところで日本のね。で本を見るとハドソンの広告が載ってて住所を見ると同じ札幌で近かったのでもう玄関のドアをトントンと叩いて入れてくださいってお願いしたら入れてくれた。それでその頃宣伝スタッフというのがトップと下に2人しかいなくってで片方はパソコンソフトで片方は任天堂で私が任天堂担当になって
なるほど、
それでゲーム出したんですけど、そのゲームを全国でゲーム大会やったら面白いねとっていうことでゲーム大会っていうのを企画してキャラバンこの間言ったやつね40日間の、でそれでデモンストレーターとして誰かがここでこういうプレーをしたら点数が取れるよっていうのを子供の前でデモンストレーションした方がいいだろうということでやったら私がターゲットに入った。
なるほど。
その瞬間に高橋名人が生まれた。
So you joined in '81 and you were involved in the programming stuff, and then you were sort of put into the public eye. And after that, after you became a sensation, did they ever try and make like a Meijin game, like to market it that way?
アドベンチャーアイランドっていうのは実はゲームセンターのわかりますか？ゲームセンター
わかります。
ね。あれでね、ワンダーボーイっていうゲームだったんですね。で、それをファミコンに移植して出そうという計画があって、実際ワンダーボーイがファミコンで移植されてたんです。で、その時に私とバイスプレジデントが後ろ歩いてって見に行った、作ってる状況を。で、こう見てる時にバイスプレジデントの一言で似てるっていうより。今高橋有名なんだからこれお前にしたらっていう一言があってそれでマスター・ヒギンズのっていうことになったんですね。
How about when they were making the PC engine? Because I have a theory that they made the turbo switches on the controller standard because of you, because they knew they would be making a lot of shooting games and stuff.
少しは当たってます。で少しはというのは何かというとその最初85年にハドソンゲームキャラバンというゲーム大会を全国でやろうとした時に、シューティングゲームがやっぱり一番時間が読めていいんですよね。予選2分間決勝5分間で大会やります。で得点を競うと得点で分かるじゃないですか順位がすぐに。例えばこれがアクションゲームだとしたらちょっと目標を決めるのが大変なのね。2分間でクリアすればいいのかそれともアイテム取った方が高いのかとかっていろいろあるのでそうするとシューティングゲームのように点数が取れる方が順位がすぐつけられるんですね、クイックリにできるんですね。というのもあってそれでハドソンは、13年ぐらいずっと毎年キャラバンをやっててそこでやるゲーム大会のゲームとしてシューティングゲームが作られていったので多く感じるんじゃないかなと。
But to go back, in particular, the PC Engine controller,
Yeah.
the Lensha Switch,
Yeah.
Turbo Switch, did that really come from you? They made it standard, right? Because they made the Joy Card before.
一番最初ねファミコンのコントローラーでシューティングゲームデバッグってそのまま多分通じるので、テストプレイかでいいや、するときに連射するのが面倒くさくなってくるのね。それにリレーをつけて連射スイッチつけたんです。 じゃあそれをプレゼントを持ってって次作ってバイスプレゼント持ってって次作ってまた上が持ってってって5個ぐらい作って持ってこないから、あ、これは売れるんじゃないかなと思ったのがそのさっき言ったジョイスティックなんですね。連射スイッチ付きの5回作って、だから持ってかれるから自分の分で作るじゃないですか。でこれを作ってでなんていうのかな、この速度がね、8 1 second for 8 15だったの。16にしなかった。
なんでですか？
やっぱり俺より買ってほしくないじゃん。でこれは山水という、日本の音楽メーカーとファミコンの音をネスの音をよくしようっていうことでここに、サウンドアンプ入れて、だからここにヘッドホン入れるとこう音を聞きながらこうプレイできる。でもこれができたことで子供たちがシューティングゲームを楽しめるようになったんでね、失敗するのもあるけれど、ね、誰でも簡単にこうやってるだけでいいから、すごくゲームをね楽しめたようになったんじゃないかな。
I'm here with Matt from The Odd Gentleman, and we're exploring the indie area of E3, which is, for some of us, actually the most interesting area of E3, considering, you know, what the rest of the show has been like.
It's nice being in the main room with all the big guys, because we're getting some of the traffic from that.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because it looks really interesting. You want to talk about it for a bit, just kind of, can you explain it in a nutshell?
Basically, the game is about PB Winterbottom and his love for pies. And he loves pies so much that he actually breaks the space-time continuum to get more pie.
And so his love for pies actually created rifts in the space-time continuum?
Well, it's called the Misadventures, so he sort of just happened into it, you know? He didn't mean to do it, he just sort of stumbles upon all of his misadventures.
Okay.
So this is just a sandbox mode. There's no real objective. It's just sort of to learn the recording feature and play around with it. So I have a very simple moveset. I can run, I can float, and I can smack my umbrella. But then I have this record button that's tied to this trigger right here. If I hold that down, the film strip plays and everything I'm doing is now being recorded. When I release that, you can see it all play back. And when it gets to the end, it actually loops back to the beginning, so it's an infinite loop. And I can actually interact with these guys. So he just launched me on the teeter-totter, but I can also do things like make a ladder out of myself. I have my trusty umbrella, which I can sort of smack these guys around with. And they can also smack me around. So you can sort of create these perpetual motion machines with yourself, and it becomes useful later on in the game where you actually have to be in about 5 different places at once to get all the 5 delicious pies.
What was the decision to go with, you know, sort of the 20s silent film style?
Well, I was a film undergraduate, so this was actually my thesis project at USC's interactive media program. And sort of when I came into the program, I was still very film focused. And then when I really got involved with games, I wanted to see how much of my undergrad and experience I could take into games. So it's sort of like a natural thing that I would make my first game a film sort of thing. So if I jump into this mode right here, now the recording's tied to this red portal, it's not tied to the button. So I'm going to jump through this, I'm being recorded, and I'm going to try to get this red pie. But now I'm playing the hero and the villain at the same time. Now I've actually created a red clone, and red clones are evil, so I can't collide with them. They're bad. So we sort of turned it on its side a little bit. So basically with these levels, you're trying to get all the red pies and avoid your previous self. And with each pie you get, it gets more complex, and by the end of it, you sort of have this choreography with yourself.
So it's all about learning the timing and figuring out where your clones are going to need to stand for the next round.
Yeah, it's sort of about thinking about your actions in the past, present, and future, sometimes at the same time, in different layers. So this is sort of the beginning of the game, and it's very much like a silent film. You'll see a title card, and then you'll play a little short segment. So we introduce the character and the mechanics.
The text adds a lot of flavor.
Yeah. The writing was done by Jamie Antonis. He's a fellow grad student.
Cool.
And I think he really loved doing it. So we teach you how to smack, Then we introduced the dastardly baker that's actually going to give Winterbottom the poison pie that starts this whole misadventure. But see, he was just a dude trying to get pie at the beginning.
Right.
So now here's where it starts to get interesting. I have a blue portal, which works pretty much like the red portal did, except for I can cooperate with myself. So I'm going to run through it. I'm being recorded. I really want this pie, but he's just not going to give it up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump through this portal. Timer will wind. And now I can actually use that clone to distract the baker, so while the chef is focused on that guy, I can sort of snag the pie from the other side. And so we spin this in different ways. Basically, the color blue in the game, if something is color blue, you know it affects time. So I'm going to hit that switch, which was blue, timer winds, and now I have a clone that will lower the piano for me to help me get delicious pie. And we also didn't want to force the player in a game like this to have to redo everything 5 or 6 times, which with a game with a mechanic like this can be pretty frustrating. So all the actions loop, and you can also use your death as a resource. So I can't make it across this gap. It's too wide for me to jump across, but I can actually use my previous self's carcass as a stepping stone, all for delicious pie. So then we introduce the recording yourself. So I can smack myself with my umbrella to get up to these delicious pies. And I can actually smack my clone into pies as well, because your clones can sort of be your minions and collect pies for you. Here's a little bit of a power-up. There's this green pie. And when I grab it, my motions are trailed, which is almost like creating my own terrain. Now I have this bridge that I can run across to get delicious pie.
So basically, this is Ippenop. It's a 2-player cooperative game, and the basic principle of it is like there's this reversed gravity thing going on, so we can walk on both sides of the world. Well, this causes all kinds of puzzles. So our goal is to get to the end of the level, quite normal, and we have to avoid those black spiky guys. You can get rid of those by touching their white counterpart, and that way. They disappear, but they leave some treasure. But the whole idea is that the 2 players together, they want to solve this, and they need to do so by discussing what's their next move going to be. And the better they get, the more fluent they get through the level, and the faster they go, and the more treasure they pick up, actually. So you'll see that the moves get more smooth as you work better together. And so there are these ways that the level enables you to fly through in certain ways, which you have to discover, of course. There's no fixed way which is the best way to play. So there's at the end of the level there's a certain time bonus. So the faster we play, the more of the treasure we'll get. But on the other hand, if you play faster, we'll miss out on some of the bonus items and miss out on some of the enemies as well. So the players themselves have to find out what's the best, where's like the equilibrium of the most points.
Considering it's very physics-based in terms of the puzzle solving, and I draw a lot of similarities with, especially with Portal, like when it comes to the multiple ways of solving, the puzzles. And did you take, direct influence? Was that a direct influence for you, or?
It's definitely one of the games I really like, and I like the way it sort of makes you think in a different way. Well, I think they tell you like thinking in portals. I think that's their tagline. And I like that way of thinking. Like a game could offer you a new kind of system which you need to learn, and the whole learning the new system gives you a lot of satisfaction when you notice that you'll actually, be able to understand the whole thing and find out new ways to travel through it and stuff. These elements which keep on repeating, they're just in different colors, and they create this sort of like abstract, scenery. And I really wanted to give it a unique look, so it would get noticed, like it should stand out.
I still think that there's probably a lot of our viewers out there that have no idea what the ECA is, and I actually feel it's kind of an important thing for people to know about. So can you give us like a quick rundown?
Sure, yeah. The Entertainment Consumers Association is a non-profit membership association. We represent gamers, so you can think of it sort of like a AAA, but for gaming.
Right. Nice. That's a good roundup. I like that. So, what's on your radar right now? I mean, as gamers, what's the kind of stuff that you would want us to be paying attention to if you had your druthers?
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, probably the most important is the First Amendment issues, which have been around for a long time now and will be around for a long time to come. And ways that people can get involved with regard to those First Amendment issues, as well as everything else government relations we work on, is through the digital advocacy tools that we have online.
Right.
So if they go to theeca.com and check out all the different initiatives that we're working on, like Gamers for Net Neutrality, Gamers for Universal Broadband, e-waste, parental empowerment, which is basically our way of working with the industry in order to make sure that it's parental accountability rather than legislative.
And the Universal Broadband Initiative, that's relatively new.
Yeah, that's actually just announced last week.
Yeah. So go into a little bit in depth about that. So why are you concerned about the Universal Broadband Initiative? Is it just to create more gamers so you can get more membership?
That's an excellent reason. I hadn't thought of it that way before. Universal broadband is really important for us, and the reason why we're weighing in, which we've done on some other really weighty national issues like Digital Millennium Copyright Act and fair use, is that we're sort of trailing behind other industrialized nations, and by joining this consortium, it gives gamers a spot at the table for the first time in order to really affect some important change.
So have you arranged any meetings with anybody on Capitol Hill yet to talk about this, or is just the kind of the first baby steps?
It's the first step is us weighing in and sort of jumping into the consortium. They actually invited us, which was really
nice.
Humbling, really
Cool.
nice. And so it sort of speaks volumes about our membership and gamers in general,
right.
that these guys are seeking us out in order to join their really important consortium
right.
that could really affect the course of the future.
Yeah, good. It seems initially like the ECA is just another online advocacy group where write an email and we'll send it off to your senator for you, but you also have local chapters and stuff too, right? Where people can get together and kind of talk about these things?
Exactly, yeah. We're up to a little over 40 chapters around the country, and that's just in the past 10 months or so.
Nice.
So you can either start or join one of those chapters around the country, and a lot of them are for social purposes.
Yeah.
So some of them are college-based, where we've sort of taken over gamer clubs that were on campus and sanctioned by the school.
Cool.
And those people who were part of that club were like, wait a minute, I want to do more than just hang out and play games together, which is cool, but they could also start, jumping on the digital advocacy tools, and it doesn't have to be just letter writing. They could get more involved with our government affairs staff, do Hill days, write letters to their local media, be our representatives locally, to really change the face of gamers and paint us the way that we actually are rather than the way that politicians want us to be.
Right, yeah. Well, clearly important if we want to continue gaming the way that we are, because it seems like every other game is banned in Australia or banned in Germany for one reason or another, because they don't have a rating system that corresponds to the type of content that a lot of M gamers that are a lot older than M age actually would want to play.
Yeah.
Do you think that the ratings actually go far enough? Because I know there's a lot of criticism out there that that parents still don't understand ratings, that the ratings aren't explicit enough, that they don't help protect kids enough.
Right. I don't know that the ratings are necessarily there to protect kids to begin with. They're more of a guide anyway. And so if the mainstream press is putting too much pressure on the system in order to sort of supplant the responsibility of the parent, then that's probably just inappropriate to begin with. That said, I think that the SRB rating system is the best that the entertainment industry more broadly has ever seen. It's not without its flaws. For instance, the first-party manufacturers still won't allow AO games to play it on their system, which basically makes that whole category redundant. Right. And as a result, the retailers won't stock AO-rated games.
Right.
The other, sort of point of concern is that the M rating feels like there should either be two distinctions there, or maybe another rating inserted between M and T, because I don't see how Halo and Grand Theft Auto, especially when you're looking at it from a mass basis, would be worthy of the same rating.
Yes.
I understand the process clearly, but it feels like a little bit something more could be done to tweak it there as well.
Right. Well, the inability to rate games as AO
I've talked to several game developers, and especially indie game developers, who think that it's limiting them from being able to produce some of the kinds of content that they would like to produce.
It's got to be infuriating for them. I mean, when you look at the movie industry, they have not only NC-17 but unrated.
Yeah.
And the unrated DVDs sell better than the regular
Right,
rated.
of course.
So as an artist, it's got to be infuriating for them.
Well, and it's not just about porno and gratuitous violence and the kind of torture porn movies that have been the mainstay recently. It really does seem that there's themes and legitimate issues that can be explored, but that can't really be explored outside of an adult context.
Yeah, and the ESA just announced this week that the average age is up from 33 to 35.
There you go.
So, the more the Generation X and Y mature, the more we're going to want that content.
Yeah.
And so it's a problem that's not going to go away. The manufacturers really need to address it.
The original philosophy, as far as Jack Thompson was concerned, was we'll ignore him and he'll go away.
Yeah,
and of
that
course
worked out poorly for us.
Yeah. So, and I think you've actually gone on record as saying that that did work out poorly for you guys, and that it was a mistake. So,
absolutely.
What have you been doing differently now? What's the new strategy?
The difference between the last association I ran, which was the Retail Trade Association, was that we all sort of followed the lead of the publishers. And at the time, it was exactly that. So, I'm equally culpable. I'm one of the guys that was ignoring him and hoping that he'd go away. And the duck and cover routine only empowered him. It left him as the only voice at the microphone. And none of us would be willing to go up and debate him. I think fortunately for us, he's been so embroiled in his own personal issues lately that maybe that's sort of taken precedent for him.
Yeah.
And
although he did apparently threaten to sue somebody else today. I think he actually threatened to sue the ESA at some point over this last week. Was it the ESA?
I think that was this last week, yeah. Because Mike Gallagher went on record, as the president of the ESA, went on record saying that he's, I guess, in the review mirror and he's not really a factor going forward, which, of course, provoked Jack into a response.
Threatening a lawsuit, right. It's amazing how easy that can be, isn't it? Well, so we are at E3, and one of the criticisms of the ESA has been that they haven't been vocal enough in defense of the industry. And some people have said that that's one of the reasons why people are pulling out. When the sex box thing popped up, there wasn't anybody there to stand in defense of the gaming industry. So is that a role that you feel that the ECA has kind of had to fill in absence of the industry big dogs getting in the game?
To be fair and defend the ESA in the process, one of the roles that they've had over a long period of time is not to defend individual publishers or individual games. And I think in that instance that you mentioned, the reason why the ECA jumped in was because we felt it was our role. We were being painted incorrectly. The game that we love was being painted incorrectly. Poor Jeff Keighley handled that like a champ and, had to shoulder the weight of an entire industry. And so we felt compelled to jump in and take their defense. Why the ESA or IGDA or EMA didn't, I'm sure they have their own reasons for, but historically they're staying true to course.
Well, so are there any specific issues like local legislation or anything that's on your radar right now that if you could send a message out there to gamers to get specifically involved in,
there are many. Yeah, there are many. If they go to, again, theeca.com, you don't have to be a member in order to check out things and see what we're involved with. You can weigh in on any of those issues, and we're actually going to build out that whole section, the legislative section of the website, so that it will be more self-explanatory and people have a better, sort of more robust understanding of each one of those issues. And then we have a pretty big presence on Facebook and MySpace, so there's different fan pages and group pages that people can jump in and have discussion and keep up to speed on.
In California, we're dealing with Leland Yee's bill being back before the courts.
Yeah, the bill that won't go away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's over the summer session, so when this time of year, it's often very quiet. Gotcha. And then you'll hear everybody start ramping back up in September. Being an election year, it kind of can go either way for us. It'll either be really quiet legislatively or could be the exact inverse.
Right. I guess it kind of would depend on whether or not some of the candidates want to make an issue out of that kind of thing.
Yeah, and many of the regular state and federal level people are up as well for re-election.
Right.
So I don't know that it will rise to the political level, to the presidential political level, but definitely at the state level.
All right, that makes sense to me too.
Hey, I don't wanna